Wow, 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 wow. So that music right there gets me pumped up, y'all. So welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is Dr. Dwayne Wood. And wow, we are almost there, y'all. We're almost there. We are right at about 65 and a half hours in our 72-hour fast. We're going to break that fast here in the next little bit, about 5.5 hours from now. And I am so excited. I'm pumped because I get a chance to come on and talk to you about one of the important parts of fasting. So a lot of people think that fasting is the main thing, and it is a huge component of what we do. But breaking that fast also is very important, because how you do that will give some indication of how successful we're going to be, and how we are going to be able to proceed. Because if you don't do well on one fast, right, the likelihood of you trying to do it again goes down. So we're going to be talking here. I'm going to do a check-in. We're going to share some information. You're going to get to see my numbers like we've been doing on these check-ins. But I'm going to specifically be talking also about some of the things I'm going to be doing for the end of my fast. But before I do that, I see a good friend who is just hanging out with us here. So Siobhan, hey Siobhan, how are you? Thank you for stopping by and saying hello. So glad that you are there, and glad that you got a chance to stop by. We're gonna have to catch up. So Siobhan, thank you for stopping by. So y'all, 66 hours I'm in, and let's just dive in. Let's dive in and see where we are, right? First, let me tell you how I'm feeling. I'm feeling energized. Our city actually is closed down because of the winter storms that we had. And I was able actually to go out today. I did some stuff to get ready for a program we're having at our church tomorrow. So went out, I did that, went to the grocery store, came back. And I have been getting some signals, some messages from my glucose monitors about my blood sugars. And so we'll share those here in just a little while so you can see what those are. We'll also check our ketones, because remember, that's a big component of what we do as we're fasting, because we want to have our body switch from using glucose and glycogen to using ketones, because that's where we get that weight loss, we get the increased benefits. And we'll talk about that as we get into other shows. But there's a tremendous amount of benefits that we get from fasting. Okay. So as we prepare for the final stretch, we're going to show you our numbers, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that I'm planning to do, or some of the recommendations that I want to give you for fasting. Okay. For those who are considering fasting, this journey, I want to remind you, always check with your healthcare provider. Okay. There are a group of people that should not be fasting right now. For instance, pregnant women, you should not be fasting without talking to your healthcare provider. In fact, they probably will tell you not to fast, right? Because we want all the nutrients for the fetus, and we want to bring that baby to term. There are some other folks who should have some guidance. If you have an eating disorder, you should be talking to your providers, your counselors, about if you should participate in this. As we talk about fasting, this is one of the tools that we're using. Remember our goal for this year. How do we decrease or eliminate our diabetes medications if you are an adult with type 2 diabetes, right? Specifically, those are the groups. That's the group that I'm talking to. Not that the other types of diabetics can't benefit, but you will have to have some special conversations with your healthcare provider. If I'm your provider, if you want to, in my courses, we've already had similar conversations. So go ahead and of course talk with us. Okay. Now, you're also, if you are sitting out there and you're listening and you say, wait a minute, I'm not diabetic, so that really doesn't concern me. Well, the things that we're doing for the management of our diabetes, remember, when we are talking about fasting, one of the benefits of fasting is that we decrease our insulin level, right? That idea of insulin resistance. And insulin plays a part in so many different disease processes or conditions. When we decrease our insulin, number one, we deal with some of our appetite, our cravings. We deal with our weight. We have, of course, lower blood sugars because by nature of what we do, we are decreasing blood sugars. That means you can get off of medication. That means you can decrease medication. That means you get to save some money and not spend that money on medication. Coronary artery disease, polycystic ovarian syndrome, metabolic disease or metabolic syndrome, hypertension, right? So all of those are disease processes that can improve with fasting and improve with the process that we're going to be going through. Remember, fasting is just one of the components. Fasting has been used to treat seizures. Fasting has been used to treat certain cancers. So the things that we are proposing, the things that we're talking about, the things that we're going to be going through, these are not just necessarily for the diabetic. While we're talking to diabetic, remember, you can also garner and glean some information from this. Just some point, and I guess we'll come back and we'll talk about those pointers here in just a minute. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of the numbers. I'm going to pop over to my meters. Remember, I'm wearing two continuous glucose monitors. One is a Dexcom and one is a Libre. I also have right next to me my supplies for the glucose monitor. And I got my strips. I got my ketone strips. I've got my Lancing device or Lancet to check those blood sugars. Okay, so let's hop back over and let's take a look. So here is where my blood sugar is right now, according to the Dexcom. This is Dexcom, and I'll actually go back and I'm going to pull up the actual complete report so you can see that here in just a minute. So this is what the Dexcom is showing. And if we pop over here is what the Libre is showing. And you'll notice down at the bottom, for most of today, my blood sugars have been right below 70. That line that it's just straddling at the bottom, that's 70. And you see that it came up a little bit around, I guess that's maybe 7 to 10, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then for the rest of the day, it's actually been below 70. And in fact, just in the last couple of hours, it's actually climbed or gone lower. Let me see if my logbook shows anything different. And so you'll see there, that was right around 2 o'clock this morning. We were at 50. Okay. And then, of course, 69. And now you see that number that we just had, which is showing a 63. Now, here's the interesting thing. I do not feel low. I don't have the symptoms. Normally, symptoms of hypoglycemia, so jitteriness, a little feeling almost anxious, inability to concentrate, depending on how low the blood sugar goes. Remember, when you are taking diabetes medications, the diabetes medication that you're taking, insulin, any of the secretagogues like glipizide, glimepiride, all of those medications, the function of them is to lower the blood sugar. So there are people who survive and they live at blood sugars below 70, but because of diabetes medications, it's much more common that you feel when that blood sugar is dropping, right? Because remember, the medication is continuing to bring the blood sugar down. So having someone who lives in the blood sugars, 80, 75, and so forth, you may not normally, as a diabetic, be able to survive there. But once we get rid of those medications, then your body easily adapts to being in the 70s and 80s without you having, and that is not a problem. Let me say that again, without you feeling those symptoms. Okay. So 63 is what the Libre is showing. And then, of course, the Dexcom showed was it 72? 72. Okay. And so now let's hop over and let's go ahead and go to our meter. This is our Keto Mojo meter, and we're going to start by checking our ketones first. Okay, so here's my strip. Bring my mic over a little bit. Here's the strip. We're going to insert that into the meter. And as I said, I use a Lancing or Lancet. I don't use the Lancing device. I know I keep saying that, but I just want, in case you're looking, you're like, wait a minute, he's not putting it in the thing. Well, yeah, I don't use it. I just take it and stick it into the finger there. And then, of course, you milk and you'll get the drop of blood. Apply the drop of blood. And within 10 seconds, you get that back. And while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and continue milking. So I'll need one more drop of blood for the blood sugar. And so ketones 5.9, y'all. Look at that, 5.9. And we'll go back and look at one of those graphs here in a minute. And we're going to insert the glucose strip. And then here is my drop of blood that we'll add. And that's just going to get sucked right into that strip. And we'll see what the meter says that my blood sugar is 71. All right, so 71 there. And then let's hop over to my Keto Mojo app on my phone. And let's have it import that information for us. And it should be starting to sync here in just a minute. Boom, boom, boom. There we are. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about ketones, right? Well, let's talk about glucose first. So this is what my glucose has been. And it's been 60s, 70s for most of the day, as you saw. Also remember, and you may be watching this and you say, wait a minute, Dr. Wood, your Libre is showing a different number from your Dexcom, and just a point, and also a different number from the Keto Mojo meter that we just had. So remember that the meters, any meter that you have, they can be about 20% different in the number. Okay, so that's just a fact. The other thing is that if you're checking your blood sugars with a meter and you're doing a finger stick, that finger stick is probably going to be more real to what your blood sugar is right now than the continuous monitor is going to be. And the reason for that is the continuous monitor is sitting in interstitial fluid. And so sugar, when you eat it, has to get absorbed in the body. Then it has to go through the blood vessels. Then it's got to filter into the interstitium, right? That's the tissue surrounding your body. And then it's got to go into the cannula that's under your skin. And then it goes into the continuous monitor, and you can see that number. But the blood sugar tends to be more direct to your fingertips, right? Because there are vessels that are there just giving direct access to the blood sugar, to the bloodstream. And so that number is probably going to be more accurate at this moment. Now, if you wait another 10, 15 minutes, then the number that you get on your continuous monitor, it may have caught up to what the blood sugar actually is. So when you see that difference, unless there's something significantly wrong with your device, right? Those numbers are differences are common. Okay. So before I go into this description and talk about what we're seeing here, let me just say hi to some folks. I see. Let's see who do we have out there. Looks like we have. Oh, we already said hello to Siobhan. And then Reginald Robinson. Hey, Reginald. He said, what's up, Doc? Hey, man. Thanks for stopping by. Siobhan says, absolutely. They're saying thanks for coming through. And then Joe says hypercholesterolemia. Yes. So fasting also treats hypercholesterolemia because as we decrease the insulin doesn't have to, or the insulin doesn't get to make those storage droplets, right? So we take sugar, we convert it to fat, and we store it in our vessels. Okay. And then Jeff, let's see. Jeff says, if you follow yourself on Libre Link Up app, you can move the vertical line back to see glucose levels at specific times. Oh, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for that. Okay. All right. So let's hop back over and let's take a look at our readings from our Keto Mojo meter. So this one, I was here showing you, this is the glucose that it shows. And then, of course, ketones. And the glucose ketone index is simply a division of the glucose by ketones, right? So ketones divided glucose divided by ketones. Now, you're looking at this number, you say, wait a minute, 71 divided by 59 is not 0.6. Well, in order to do this, you've got to convert the glucose to an international standard. And basically you divide that by divided by 18. So you take the 71 divided by 18, and then you take that number and divide it by 5.9. And that's where we get the 0.6. Let's take a look at our graph. Right? So this is our glucoketo graph. And you'll see there as time went on. So we started there right about Wednesday, right at the bottom part of this graph. And you see the glucose, the glucose started out actually above. The glucose is the grayish line or tan line. And then the ketones are the turquoise line down at the bottom. And you see, of course, glucose started out higher, and then it proceeded and increased or decreased. And as the glucose decreased, that meant that my insulin levels were going down, right? Because after all, insulin doesn't have to be produced to manage sugar because my blood sugar is going down. And the lower the sugar, of course, the less insulin your body makes. And at that point, we start to see that the ketones, right, rose, and they stayed right above the glucose. Of course, glucose continues to drop. And then over time, ketones are getting higher and higher and higher to the point where we just saw them, right? So they're almost 6. What was that, 5.9, I think? Yeah, 5.9 was what the ketones were. And so we are well into now burning ketones. The body is now in the process of using ketones for energy. And that is exactly what we want. Now, that process started, way back, probably here somewhere, right? So the body stores, so the body has to, first of all, absorb the food that you eat. So that process takes, the digestion starts out 5 hours, 4 to 5 hours, what people say the body absorbs. And then when your insulin levels drop and you are not eating, then the body has to now use the energy that it got from the food that you ate. So all the carbs and so forth that you ate, it has to burn through that, which is in your blood. And then it has to go to the liver and burn through the glycogen that's there. That takes about 24 hours. Once the glycogen is gone, then the body goes to your fat cells and then begins burning fat cells. And that's where we begin to see weight loss. Because if your body doesn't have to burn fat cells or burn fat in the cells, then it doesn't have, you're not losing any weight. So people are eating and they say, well, I haven't eaten for 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours. Well, if you have enough sugar in your body, if you have enough glucose, there's no reason for the body to then begin burning fat because it has a ready supply. In addition to that, now once we switch over to burning ketones, the process is much more efficient because the body converts to burning that. Ketones are a byproduct of the fact that the body's burning fat. Okay, so that's where the ketones come from. And there are lots of benefits to ketones. I keep saying as I'm doing these check-ins, as I'm talking, there are several things that we need to go through as we get through the course of this year. We'll do that. But remember, our goal is to provide tools that you can use to decrease, eliminate your diabetes medications, put your diabetes in remission, and begin dealing with all those other effects that we see from insulin, from diabetes, right? So we're talking diabetes, pre-diabetes, obesity, and weight issues. We're talking about polycystic ovarian syndrome, metabolic syndrome, hyperlipidemia, hypertension, and on and on and on and on. Okay, so that's where we are in terms of our glucose. Those are our numbers. So let's talk now about what I am planning to do, right, as we get into the end of our fast, so breaking the fast. As we are moving into breaking the fast, okay, Of course, you have during your fast been making sure that you are remaining hydrated. That's one of the big points that I want to make, that you're hydrated, that you're getting enough fluids in. We also want to make sure that you're getting rest, because if you're not getting rest, then the fast itself does not go well. You're very tired and sluggish, and sometimes people would think that that's because of the fast, but it's not the fast. It's the fact that you're not getting good rest. Okay, so make sure that you are getting good rest. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do as we begin to break the fast. Number one, you want to listen to your body. Pay close attention to what your body is telling you. If there are things that you are eating as you're breaking your fast and you're not feeling well, then the body's saying, okay, that's not a substance, that's not a food, that's not a group of things that you should be eating as you're breaking your fast. So number one, listen to your body. Number two, what you're eating depends on how long you've been fasting. If you've been doing intermittent fasting, right, or time restricted eating is right, then, and it's, you've only fasted for 10 hours, 12 hours, maybe 14 hours, then you really can't pick up where you were before. There's no special types of foods that you've got to eat or you've got to avoid. You can really just, whatever you normally eat, right, you can pick up right where you were and continue that process. In fact, you can probably do that even if you've been fasting up to about 24 hours. If you're having fasts that are more than that, then there are some things we want to talk about and encourage you to do as you're moving into breaking the fast. First, let's back up and let's talk a little bit about what happens during the fast. So during the fast, what begins happening is your body is changing the energy source, right? We mentioned that. That is going from burning glucose and breaking down glycogen to now using ketones. So there has to be a crossover process there. In the process of using ketones, we get to a place that's called autophagy. And you've heard me say this on several of our check-ins. So autophagy is where the body is now reclaiming damaged, broken, unused tissue cells to generate energy, right? Basically, it's rebuilding, it's updating, it's renovating, maybe another word to say, right? So the body's in the process of doing that. And because of that, the other place that this happens is in the GI tract, right? So the GI tract, that's your stomach, the lining of the gut, all of those cells are in the process of being changed over. So as you are now beginning to eat, you don't want to shock the system, right? So if you go back, you finish your fast and you go back and all of a sudden you're eating 5 chicken legs, 3 pieces of pizza, just going down, then that does a couple of things. One, it shocks the system, right? Because the body has been now trying to get into a more normal process, and you now throw this stuff at it. And so it has to kind of rapidly switch. That's the first thing. Number two, depending on the things you're eating, you now force those cravings back, right? Because if you're eating highly refined, highly processed, high carb food, all of a sudden the insulin level, which was down, shoots up. And remember, insulin stimulates appetite. And so what does that do? You ate this highly refined, highly processed, high carb food, and all of a sudden you're ravenous. And people think that that's because they're coming out of the fast. But it's not because you're coming out of the fast. It's because we have put something in that supercharges and stimulates the appetite. So you want to make sure that you're avoiding those things. You want to go start low and go slow, right? For anything that we do, start low and go slow. In the process of getting to the fast or getting to break the fast, one of the things I've encouraged people to do is journal. Make sure that you're writing how you're feeling during the fast as you're getting to the end of the fast. Now, I'll tell you, when, was it 3 weeks ago, when I was fasting, I was getting ready to break the fast, and I made one of those cardinal mistakes, right? So I had gone through the week, and we have reps that come through to the office, and so they were bringing food and so forth, and we order food, and we eat those during lunch. Well, because I was fasting, I didn't eat it. And what I should have done was not order it, but I ordered it. It was in the refrigerator. And so that day when I was coming home, I just grabbed all the stuff that was in the refrigerator and I brought it home. So as I'm getting to the end of the fast now, I'm not hungry. I'm feeling great. But you know what I'm thinking about? Oh, yeah. I'm thinking about all the food that I just brought home that I put in the refrigerator that I hadn't eaten for the last 3 days. Okay, so don't do that. Don't anticipate. Don't plan, right, to have a huge meal, right? Do something conservative. We'll give you some examples here in a minute. And then journal. How am I feeling? What are my thought processes? Okay, so that you can then go back and you look. And we're going to talk about how fasting will fit in. But, spoiler alert, we're going to recommend that you do some fasting at least once a week. At least once a week. So once again, we are 65, 66 hours into the fast and feeling great. So let's talk a little bit about what we want to do. So the first thing that you can do, right? The first thing you can do is, in order to give your body something small, something light to eat, you can use soups. You can use bone broth. For you folks out there who are vegetarian or vegan, you can use, vegetable broth. You can use vegetable soup. Those are great ways to start the process, right? So we're not going to sit down and have a full meal, right? We're going to start the process. We're going to ease into this. One of the reasons, and I'm breaking my fast at 12:30 tonight, right? So 12:30 a.m. That was because of a miscalculation in terms of my schedule. And I usually fast, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But because of my scheduling, I end up starting late. Now, one of the reasons that I don't like that is I don't want to, even if I'm breaking the fast at that time, I don't want to eat a big meal because it's late at night and I'm getting ready to go to sleep. I should be asleep anyway, right? So as you are talking about the fast, as you're working with the fast, when you're going to break the fast, try to do it at a time when you're able to do that. So that, and I'm going to give you a timeline here in just a minute, but start with something small, start with something light. Don't just go sit and eat a 3-course or a 4-course meal. Okay. So bone broth, vegetable broth, vegetable soup, those are all things that you can do in terms of beginning. So what you want to do is drink some soup, drink some bone broth, and then maybe an hour later, add something else, right? Maybe you want to add an egg. Maybe you want to add a handful of nuts. Those are perfect things that you can add. And notice, as I'm doing this, I'm not adding a lot of highly refined carbs. In fact, you haven't heard a lot of carbs there yet, right? The nuts have carbs, but they have protein as well. Okay, so we're easing into this. So you have soup, broth, vegetable soup maybe at the beginning, an hour and a half, maybe a couple hours later. You want to have some nuts, some eggs. Then you can have some salad. Okay, so not salad where you pile on the croutons and you got all the cheese on top of it and so forth, right? So a simple salad. You may have seen the advertisement for this. I have a salad there, and it had a bunch of stuff in it, bunch of things in it, but didn't have a whole lot of other carbs. Okay, one of the things that people talk about is the gut bacteria, being able to feed the gut bacteria and help the gut bacteria to enhance the process that we're doing. Now, notice as we are in the process of breaking this fast, all the things that we've done so far, all the things that I've mentioned that we can eat are things that can actually prolong autophagy. Remember, autophagy is that process of reclaiming those damaged or those unused building blocks. Well, we're breaking the fast because now we're putting calories in, right? But because of the types of calories that we're putting in, we're not having that big insulin spike. And because there's not that big insulin spike, our body is still burning ketones. And in the process of burning those ketones, we're still in the we're still doing autophagy, right? So you can actually extend the autophagy a little bit, even though you are in the process of breaking the fast. Okay, beans are another wonderful way to get into breaking the fast, right? Because they are a good way of reintroducing some protein. Not a lot of carbs there, right? It's a good source of protein. They taste good. You can have lots of different types of beans, right? And black beans and red beans and lima beans, and you can go on and on and on, right? So beans, a wonderful way of doing that. The nuts, as I mentioned before, any of the nuts that you want to use right now, I'm not going to make a distinction between one or the other. I actually happen to I love almonds and I love cashews. So there's a can of cashews that I have, a can of almonds that I have that I can use there as well. We've talked about vegetable broth, vegetable soups, and so forth. Now, let me go back here and I'm going to show you one of my mistakes. Now, back a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when I broke my fast, I went out and I got some soup, right? And I bought some soup. And so here is where, this is where I was, right here, okay? This is where I was when I was getting ready to break my fast. And as I moved into the fast, I broke the fast and I drank this soup. And it was tomato soup, right? So it was from a box. And I want you to see, look at my blood sugar. My blood sugar started out right there at about 126. And I took this, actually, I had already started eating, right? So I should have done it right before eating, but I had already started drinking the soup. And I want you to notice what happens to the blood sugar. So that tan line at the top, that's blood sugar, y'all, right? And look what happened to my blood sugar. And look what happened to the ketones, right? So if I go right here, so look at that. My blood sugar went from where it was, let's do this one, right? So here my blood sugar was 88 and ketones 2.5. And that was, let's see, I can't tell the time right there. So that was maybe about 6 o'clock in the evening. And my blood sugar shot up to, right, 176. And my ketones dropped to 0.3. Okay. Now I quickly adjusted because I saw that. I was like, wait a minute. That's not what I want. And so I quickly, over the next day or so, kind of got myself back down. And you'll see there that my blood sugar, for the most part, stayed below 110. You know, there was that time right there where it went up to, what was that? That's... not that one. Yeah, this one right here. Okay, it doesn't look like I have a blood sugar along with that for some reason. Okay, and so for the most part, we've kind of stayed within this range, right? We tell people, you know, if we're doing keto diet or fasting, we want blood sugars to be between 80 and 100, right? 80 and 100. And then, of course, we got into our fast, and that's what we're doing now. Right. So that was one of the things that happened to me as I broke the fast the last time. Okay. So those are, you know, things that we're recommending that we eat. Steamed vegetables are another amazing way to kind of get into this, because the vegetables, even though they have carbs in them, the carbs you also have some fiber, and the fiber blunts the effect of the carbs that are there. Okay. One of the things that a lot of people would recommend, and I actually went out and got some today, is starting to do some fermented foods, right? So fermented foods that feed the gut bacteria, the gut flora. So things like kimchi. I actually went out and I bought some sauerkraut. I love sauerkraut. I'm from New York. You know, don't judge me. I grew up on sauerkraut, hot dogs, and onions. Right. So anyways, I went out and I bought some sauerkraut, and I'm going to try that here as I get into this part of the fast, or breaking this fast. The other thing is some soft foods, so things like avocado. Right. So avocado is a great way to get some good fats. One of the things that sometimes people recommend is that you use some MCT oil as you break the fast. You know, we'll talk more about some of those here, not here, but as we move into this process, right? I think that kind of covers it. For those of you who are vegan, those of you who are vegetarian, lots of vegetarian options. Sometimes vegan is where we run into some issues. I would say, and you may use tofu, edamame. I would say those are a great way. You have to find the way to prepare those that are pleasant for you, right? That taste good. But the big point that I want to make as we move into the breaking of the fast is you do not want to sit down and gorge. Don't sit down and plan, hey, I'm going to eat a piece of cake and I'm going to have some mashed potatoes. I'm going to have 2 pieces of chicken. I'm going to have, pot roast, and don't do that, right? Because remember, a big part of eating is the anticipation and the thought process that goes into it, right? So don't do that to yourself. Don't set yourself up for failure. Don't do a lot of highly processed, highly refined foods. Begin slow and then move into the process, and then listen to your body. There are some things that I just talked about, some things that I mentioned. You may drink some bone broth and your body doesn't respond well to that. So then don't do bone broth. Do something else. Okay. I love that. All right. So let's see. So Calme, let me pull this up. She says, have you, or she or he says, Calme Briscoe says, have you tried Bubby's sauerkraut? No, I have not. But I'm going to I'll make a note of that. I'm going to put that right here. Let's see. Where can I put that? Okay, there we go. Bubby's sauerkraut. Okay. No, but I have not. Thank you for that. Yeah, if you're out there, what have you tried before? What have you tried before, right? So if you've been fasting, if you've done an extended fast, even if you've done short fasts, intermittent fasting or time restricted eating, what have you used in the past to break your fast? Let us know. One of the reasons I love this space is that the community brings value. The community enhances, enriches this space, because so as we talk to each other, we get to see what different people are doing and what different people are trying. Okay. Now, one of the things that I did not do here that I want to go back and show, and I did this in one of our other check-ins, is I did not talk about weight. Right. So one of the big benefits of fasting is the improvement in your weight. And so go back to my weight app, and this was my weight this morning. You guys will see the trends. If you've been following me, you've kind of seen where I've been. I'm going to go here to the year view. That right there, y'all, was March of last year. So it's March of 2023. Okay. And here we are, 197. If I go back further in my history, that was July of 2022, 245 pounds way back there. And then, look at this, y'all. That was January of 2022, 260 pounds. Now, I don't have in this app where I was at my heaviest of 285 pounds. Okay. So 285 pounds. And I have not been below 200 pounds. I was gonna say since I got married. Now that is not y'all to blame my wife, right? So I don't want you to say, hey, Dr. Wood said that you made this happen. But over the course of this past several months, we've been working diligently, right? Remember, new year, new you, new year, new me, new year, new us. Okay. All right. Let's see. Suzanne. Hey, Suzanne, how are you doing? Suzanne. She said pizza. Hey, you know it. I am a New Yorker, y'all. So can I tell you something? Can I tell on myself? Okay. All right. So when I go to New York, one of my sisters may pick me up. And on the way from the airport, right, whether I'm flying to LaGuardia or Kennedy, on the way from the airport, there are three things when I go to New York that I say I've got to have. I've got to have a hot dog. I've got to have a slice of pizza, and I've got to have some Chinese food. That's it. Right now, it doesn't matter how long I'm there. Once I get those three things, I'm good. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you those are the three things that I do when I go to New York. I'm going to have those. So if you see me there, I don't want you to jump on me. I don't want you to get on me. Just say, okay, he's here in New York. Okay, when he goes back, to Alabama, he's gonna be good. Okay, let's see. So and then Call Me Briscoe says it's a cold deli. Okay, it's in the cold deli section. It's actually fermented. Little expensive. Yeah, but I will definitely look for it because I'm always looking for good stuff, right? He said, I'm a big fan of fermented foods, kefir, kimchi, and sauerkraut. Yeah. Now, I have not really found a good place to get kimchi, right? I tried making kimchi once, and it did not go well. Right. But I have had it before, but I've not I've found a good place where you can consistently get it. So Siobhan said, finished a 7-day fast, top of the year, broke it with coconut water, then later watermelon. Oh, thank you for that, Siobhan. Thank you for sharing that. 7 days. Whoa. Okay. Now, was that part of a program, Siobhan? Drop that in the chat. Was that part of a program that you did that on your own? You know, at the beginning of the year, a lot of people do these cleanses. In fact, I have a colleague who is now in the process of doing a 40-day detox. I'm not sure if she's doing fasting in it, but she's doing a program, and from what I hear, things are going well with that. So 7 days. Okay, and this says we're in the same boat weight wise. I bounce between 250 and 190 every few years. Yeah, it is a thing. It is a thing. And so what I want to convince people of, okay? And let me talk about this here, and we're gonna do more discussions about this. If you caught me or saw me several years ago, right? There were a lot of issues going on in my life, and so one of the questions that I think I used to dodge, right? Because it's embarrassing, right? Why is the doctor fat? Right? That's the word, and that's the word people use. Why is the doctor obese? Why is the endocrinologist having an issue with weight? And I say that weight is a complicated thing. And one of the reasons that we are New Year, New You is what do we need to put in place? What do we have to do to put things in place to help us maintain a healthy lifestyle? Okay, and we'll share more of my story as we get in to the rest of this year and into the rest of the shows. But thank you for saying that. So 250 and 190. Yeah. So you also said we've got a local Korean grocery that makes it fresh. Wow. Okay. Maybe I need to look for that. I don't know that we have one here. Okay. Siobhan said, nope. I just wanted to do it and have done it before. Do you think it's safe to do 7 days once a month? Now, so that's a very good question. And always I preface when I answer these questions by saying it depends on what other health and medical issues you have. Okay. People who are having eating disorders probably need to do, well, I shouldn't say people. So everyone needs to do fasts if they're doing extended fast under the direction of a healthcare provider. Okay. And whether you are part of a team, let me say that, whether you are doing it as part of a group, part of a coaching program, part of a weight loss, part of your diabetes management, your cholesterol management, your obesity, whatever it is. Don't try to do this alone. Okay, so let me say that at the front. I am proposing that everybody does some type of fasting at least once a week. Now, if you do intermittent or time restricted fasting where you're fat, you don't eat for 16 hours and then you eat for 8 hours, you're probably doing that every day. And that's a start. But I want to propose a longer, at least 24 hours, 24 to 36 hours once a week. Okay. And in my case, I'm doing longer fasts. But that's a whole nother story. So back to your question, Siobhan, I think if we're doing it in a controlled manner, then I think having a 7-day fast, there's nothing wrong with it, right? There's nothing dangerous if you are doing it in a safe manner. So that's the answer to that question. All right. So y'all. So I am, and the reason I came on now to do this is because when I break my fast, it's going to be 12:30 in the morning. And I don't think I'm going to come on live. I may record that and then post it later or do some other form of that, right? I'll have it recorded, but I may not post the whole thing. But we'll see. But I wanted to come on, and if you're following along with us, I wanted to let you know what my plan is. So I went out, I got some sauerkraut. I did get some bone broth. I'm going to make a salad. I bought some nuts. Right. And so those are the things I do. Now, there is an app that I really recently got turned on to, and you guys may use it. You may know it. I have no affiliation with the app, but it's really a nice app, and it's called Yuka. And so you can scan foods, and it tells you, additives, proteins, calories, and so forth. There are other apps out there that do similar things, but this is the bone broth, the beef bone broth that I bought. Okay, this is the one I bought. And then, so we do a lot of tofu at our house, so you'll see there. So we have tofu. But the nuts, right? So Planters, once again, this is not to advertise for Planters, but it's the cashews that I use. And then, where are the almonds? The almonds. I don't think I have those in here. Oh, this is the soup that I drank, y'all. Right? Look at that. 14 grams of carbs, right? And I think I had 2 cups. Maybe that's what happened. So I saw organic. I was like, yes, let's get that. Right? It's going to taste good. But that's the one that shot my blood sugar up to 176. Okay. I looked at this miso cup with seaweed, but then I looked at the ingredients, and for instance, it has 710 milligrams of sodium. This other soup that I got, I think it's 390. Let's see, where is it? This one right here. 330 milligrams of sodium. So, okay. Now what probably should happen is I should make my own, right? So anytime you can do that, that's much better. Servan, I did see where you said that you broke your fast with coconut water. Yes. So wonderful way to do that. Siobhan said, I love, let me back up over here so I can get your comment on. She said, I use the Life app for fasting, and I love the Yuka app. Okay, so Life app. Is that the name of it, Life app? Okay. All right. So thank you for that, Siobhan. I'm gonna go check it out. And then she says, I love that brand's butternut squash soup. Oh, I've not tried that before. I've not tried it. I think I may. Do I have it in here? I think I may have scanned it. Yeah, I thought I had, but I don't see it in there now. Okay. Now, one of the things I like, and so here, let's go back over here, is I like chickpeas. So I did, I picked up a can of chickpeas, and also I picked up a can of black beans. I think do I have that in here? Now here's some lentil soup that I thought I was going to use last time, but I ended up not using. I thought, as I looked at it, I thought it was a little bit too heavy to start with, so I went back to the broths. Okay, I think I saw Suzanne. Are you still out there? What do you typically do for when you break a fast? What do you typically do? I think Suzanne. Here's one that I looked at also, guys. This is mushroom bisque, and of course it has that markup there, keto, and that's why I scanned it, right? Because I wanted to see what actually was in it. So it has 1 gram of sugar, 880 grams of milligrams of sodium, got some additives, some saturated fats, and so forth. Okay, but anyway, so so that's so those are the things I use, right? So I'll probably at some point give you a list of apps that I use. You've kind of seen a lot of them, well, some of them as I've gone through this check-in, and as we move into future episodes and future check-ins and future videos, and as we move into the year, we'll talk more about some of the technology that I use as part of my process. For example, the scale that I use, it's a scale that my wife actually turned me on to. She uses it in her program. She is a weight management coach, and so a physician, and so she uses this as part of her program. So, all right, let's see. Siobhan, we talked about that. Let's see who else. What else do we have? I have to make sure I don't miss anything. So here's a question. It says, have you tried anything to mitigate blood sugar spikes with high carb, fast breaking meals? Something like apple cider vinegar or insulin fiber, fiber. I have not. Usually when I'm good, I don't have those spikes. But apple cider vinegar is one of those things that a lot of people talk about. So apple cider vinegar, they also talk about cinnamon. Of course, cinnamon is an insulin sensitizer. So sprinkling some cinnamon on food as you're eating it. And then, of course, bitter melon, right? So some people eat bitter melon. Now, here's an interesting thing. I grew up eating bitter melon just like you eat like zucchini or squash. My family we ate bitter melon, and who knew that it was going to be one of those things that people said improved your blood sugar, right? A sensitizer. But all right, so let's run through quickly a couple of things. One, make sure that you are remaining hydrated as you're fasting. Make sure that you're getting good rest as you're fasting. Do not try not to anticipate the food that you're going to eat. Make a plan for what you're going to do in terms of breaking the fast, but don't plan to have a 3-course meal or 4-course meal, right? Be sensible as you do that, right? So those are the initial things. We'll come back and we'll talk more about hydration, which is another big component of fasting. As you are getting into the breaking of the fast, start slow, right? So soups, broths, vegetable soup, steamed vegetables. Wait an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Then you can have eggs. You can have maybe some nuts. You can have a salad. Listen to your body. Your body will tell you when there are things that it doesn't agree with as you're breaking the fast. So start slow or start low and go slow. Okay. All right. The fermentation and so forth. And you guys can go back and you can watch this video and kind of go through some of those things. Once again, if you have things that you use, things that you do, and call me Briscoe, thank you for sharing with us. In the chat, in the comment section, go ahead and drop some of those things in, because as people are watching this on the replay, it would be good for them to see some of those things that you're doing as well, right? Remember the community. Anyway, well, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for being here. Remember, we're shooting for fasting, right? So wherever you are, I ask you to add 2 hours to your current fast. If you don't eat for 8 hours, add 2 more hours, make it 10. If you normally don't eat for 10 hours, add 2 hours, make it 12. If it's 14, add 2 hours, make it 16, and so forth, up to 24 hours. And in fact, if you currently do a 24-hour, I'm going to challenge you to add 2 hours and make it a day and 2 hours. Okay. So we're heading somewhere. It's one of the tools that we're going to be using as we minimize, that is decrease, get rid of some of your diabetes medications, put your diabetes in remission, and deal with all of those other disease processes that you find yourself in, right? With obesity, metabolic syndrome, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, polycystic ovarian syndrome. All of those can be benefited by the process that we're going to go through. Well, thank you for being here. This is Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And for this year, y'all, new year, new you. We'll see you later.